Hi class, this is Mrs. Bissot here. Now that you're done listening to the story, My Garden, I want you to please take out your Wonders Your Turn practice book and turn to page 127. A 1, a 2, and a 7. 127 looks like this. Now the first thing I'd like for you to do is write your name. So please write your name on the top where it says name, and I will write mine while you write your name. So neatly. Mrs. Bissot. Okay, here we go. All right, so now let's listen to what they want us to do. We have a 1, a 2, and a 3, and it says comprehension, character, setting, and events. So that's what they're going to be asking us about. So number 1, please point at number 1, and you look at the 2 pictures. And it says, circle the picture that shows the main character from the story, My Garden. Who was the main character? Who was the story all about? Was the story about a rabbit? Or was the story about a girl? Who was the story about? Who was in all the pages of the story? The girl, yes. Although there was a rabbit in the story was not all about the rabbit. The story, that was just one thing that happened when she saw the rabbits and the chocolate rabbits. But the story was about the girl. Please circle the girl. Okay, now number 2, you're gonna point at number 2 and you're gonna look at those 2 pictures, and it says, circle the picture that shows the setting from the story. The setting. The setting means, where did the story take place? Where did it take place? At what time? Where did the story take place? I want you to think. It was an imaginary story. A lot of pretend events happened. Did the story take place in the girl's imaginary garden that had pretend flowers that were seashell flowers? Or did the story take place at the beach? Where was the story at? Where was the setting? In the imaginary garden. Yes, good job. She had quite an imagination. That was such a fun garden. Ooh, and look at number 3 has lines. That means we're gonna write a sentence. It says, number 3, it says, write about an event the girl imagines in her garden. She imagined so many things. And what is something that the girl imagined in her story? So you could either think of your favorite thing that you remember happening in the story, their favorite event that happened, of something she saw and imagined, or we could work on it together. Now, I have a tie. 2 of my favorite things were, one was the chocolate bunnies, the chocolate rabbits, and then I also like the giant tomatoes. Oh, the big tomato was so much fun. Can you imagine having a tomato that big? So let's take a look. Which one am I going to pick? Oh, let's see. It's a tie between the chocolate rabbits. Chocolate is such a long word to write. Let's see. Chocolate rabbits or this giant tomato? Oh, I think I'm going to pick the tomato one. Can you imagine how much pasta sauce or salsa we can make with tomatoes that big? Ooh, getting Mrs. Bissot started. All right, friends. All right, let me get those sillies out. This story was so silly, it got Mrs. Bissot feeling silly. All right, so she saw the tomatoes would be as big as beach balls. Can you imagine that? That's gigantic. So I think that's the one I'm gonna write about. You can write about whichever one was your favorite event in the story, but make sure you have a capital letter, spacing in between the words, and a period, and that all your letters are going the right way. Now I'm gonna write about the tomatoes, but you can write about something else if you'd like, but make sure it's a nice, beautiful, complete sentence. All right, so I'm gonna write, she can see big tomatoes, okay? So she. Now she is a word that is a sight word. You're gonna have that in a little bit, and it's S-H-E, because S and an H makes a sound sh, and then E, she. All right, so we have to start a sentence with a capital letter. So the S, we're gonna make it a capital S that goes from the sky to the ground. And then the S needs a H to make the sound sh. So let's put an H. Sh. E. That's an E. Sometimes E says its name, just like she. And we'll put a reading down. She. Can. Now that was one of your sight words earlier, and it's also actually a word you could sound out. Can. C-A-N. So you're gonna get your finger space or spacer, whatever you're using to make a space. You're gonna put a space after the word she, after the E. You're gonna make sure there's a space. Can, and we're gonna write the word can. K-A-N. Can. She can see. That was also one of your sight words. Isn't that so cool? Now that you know all these sight words and you know how to sound things out, you can spell and read so much. She can see. So move your spacer over. You're going to put a space after the word can, and we're going to write the word see. S-E-E. And that will go under the grass line. She can see. Big tomatoes. B-I-G. B-I-G. Remember, keep them lowercase. And we're going to swoop down and start back up here. Always start back in the front right here on the left-hand side. B-I-G. And then the G is going to go under the ground. It's going to hang it under. Big. She saw big what? Tomatoes. We're going to put a space. And we have the word tomatoes right here. And look, oh my goodness, I wish we could draw a picture of that. That's such a great picture. Imagine a tomato that big. She can see big tomatoes. So make sure you move over your spacer. You don't want to squish it next to the G. And we're going to write the huge word tomatoes. T-t. Starts with a T. To. T-O. May. M-A. An A says its name. Toes. T-t. Another T. O. Now you could just add an S there, tomatoes, because if you're sounding it out. But since we have the book here and we can use our book to help us, I'm going to write it the way they wrote it in the book, which is the big kid way with an E, tomatoes. You're going to see that the O and an E later next year makes a sound O also. Tomatoes and an S, period. Now you could either make it a period, or if you want, you can make an exclamation point, because it was pretty exciting. If you want to make an exclamation point, put a line and then the dot. Or it could be a regular period. But she can see big tomatoes. She can see big tomatoes. So now, friends, the main character in the story was the girl. The setting, it took place in an imaginary garden. And one of the events that happened was she can see big tomatoes. Thank you so much for working with me. I will work again with you later. Bye.